I'm going to talk today about the upcoming authorized use of military force. Apparently the White House has been talking to people in Congress, both the House and the Senate, mostly Democrats, in terms of getting some type of authorized use of military force to go after ISIL in Syria and Iraq, I'm sorry. And there's a little bit that we know about right now. This is basically what we know about right now and what problems or opportunities we might face in the coming future on that. Right now we know that we're looking at a 3-year plan that'll be sunset in 3 years, so the next president can come in. It'll still be in place, and then if the next president wants to continue, they'd have to go back to the Congress to go for that. According to it right now, that there is no enduring ground operations that they will have in force, and that is going to be limited to ISIL and associates. But at the same time, it's going to be very, very broad, meaning it's going to give the White House, give the president, whoever the president is in 2 years from now, and Obama right now, wide latitude. Now, we do know right now that we've been bombing ISIL basically since about last May or June. We've been going after them after they took over a couple cities in Syria and in Iraq, and then started showing what type of butchers they were, so to speak. But the Congress has not necessarily authorized that type of thing, but they sort of gave a wink wink and a nod to the White House, basically saying, you can do whatever the heck you want to do. Don't come to us. We'll let you do it, but we don't want to get our dirty fingers on it, because if you succeed, we'll say we were behind you the whole time. But if you fail, we'll say that we had reservations about it the whole time. Now, this is supposed to supersede in its entirety all of the 2002 authorized use of military force, which was against Iran and 9/11 and Al-Qaeda, and of course ISIL didn't even exist at that particular point in time. So there's a lot of things that will be going on in terms of the Congress, and there's also a question, will Congress even actually vote for it? Will they actually vote for it? And will they actually authorize it? What types of things? Now, we know that someone like Lindsey Graham and someone like John McCain, they'll authorize a very, very wide and broad latitude to give the White House basically anything that it wants, whereas McCain has basically said when it comes to a war or something like that, anything that the White House has to do is constitutional. Nothing is unconstitutional. They could do whatever they want. And I guess he's entitled to that opinion, but we know that they want the war to continue. They want us to wipe them off the face of the earth. They want to get this scourge off, and then they'll want the next war to happen. Same with Bill O'Reilly. But for right now, we know that there's a wide latitude, and there's a couple questions that we would have. Is that, number one, we've done 2,000 bombing runs at least already over there. We have against ISIL. We have about 2,000 to 3,000 ground troops that are close to there. So we say that there's going to be no enduring ground operations, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to do ground operations. And if we are going to do ground operations, how many ground troops do we need there? So we have approximately 3,000 there right now. What is our supply line going to be? How many medical personnel do we have to have near that? What types of recovery missions are we going to have if someone is shot down somewhere or someone is lost somewhere? How massive do we want that? What type of force do we want to go in to save someone who may have to parachute out of a plane, out of a jet, out of a helicopter, something like that? As I said, the supply, how much can we trust the partners that we have now? Because we couldn't trust Iraq beforehand. We can't trust a lot of people in Afghanistan. So is everything going to be done by ourselves, or how much, are we going to let the Peshmerga do their thing over there? We're going to let the Turks do their thing over there? We're going to let the Iraqi troops do their thing over there? We're going to do our own things. We're not going to coordinate them because we don't want to let them know what we want to do so that they won't tell the enemy, because maybe they're in a little bit of cahoots with the enemy. So I don't really know. So, and how broad will this be? And when we say fight anywhere, does that mean that if we find someone making chemical munitions in Qatar or UAE or in Pakistan or in Saudi Arabia or something like that, could we go in there and send our new American sniper over there and take them out? What about the people that are funding all of this? What about the people who are delivering arms to ISIL? Do we have the right to take them out? Because that's could fight anywhere. And does that give us the right to go into Africa? Can we go after Boko Haram? They're in a number of countries, so to speak, and there is, let's just say, things that are going on in the Islamic community in Libya, in Chad, in Sudan, in Mali, in Nigeria. do we have the right to go into there and exert our forces there? Do we have the right to take ground troops there if we feel it's so necessary? If something goes bad in Libya because they have so much oil, do we have the right to go in there, well, let's say with the French, and take over the fucking country so that we can keep getting the oil? I don't really know. It depends on how broad that type of thing is. Again, it is good. Do we have does this give the president the right to have a draft so that we can draft, let's just say from my perspective, our sons and daughters, and train them specifically for this type of warfare, because if we're going to do it now, we're going to do it forever. How cool, what? Even though we have a 3-year sunset onto all this, at some particular point in time, we're going to know whether it's going to be complete or not. Meaning, in a year and a half, what type of provisions they're going to have to make to continue to keep going on. And if we think that maybe the next Congress and the next president may not want to do it, does that mean that this particular president has the right to beef up more and more of it because he doesn't think that it's going to continue after the next president comes in? There's a lot of stuff that's going on with all of that. And Congress has been AWOL on all of that. They never authorized anything. As I said, they gave a wink, wink, and a nod, nod. And of course, when I said they have 3,000 troops there, how many more do we need? According to Billy, there's only 30,000 of these savages. Well, we don't know how many there are specifically, and there's probably a very good chance if we want to put our footprint down there again, that would mean that there might be a great opportunity, for ISIL to increase its recruiting arm, so that they'll get more people from Morocco and more people from Algeria, and I'm just going across the continent: Libya, Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. I don't know, Iran. There's all these things that are going on over there, and if we go in after ISIL, remember parts that are in Syria. Are we going to take over that portion of Syria? We're going to give that portion of Syria to Turkey. We're going to give that portion of Syria to the Kurds because of all the things that are going on in the fog of war. Will the Kurds be able to declare their own independence in various areas of Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey? Will any of those countries fight back? Will we back the Peshmerga and the Kurdistan if they want to do that? There's a lot of oil fields that are involved there. In general, will someone try and take over some oil fields like ISIL has done? Will Iraq try to go into Iran? Will Iran try to go into Iraq and do that? I don't know. These are all, big questions that we have to have. And as I mentioned, we have 3,000 people there. How many do we need? 50,000? 70,000? 100,000? And again, who's going to take over when it's done? Who are we going to, we're going to do a viceroy like we said we were going to do in Iraq? It's sort of a no man's land right now. So any type of government has to be started from the ground up, so to speak. Not quite sure how all that's going to happen. Are we prepared to do all that? Are we prepared to have another 10-year stay in Syria and northern Iraq for all of this type of thing? And how many more people? How many fatalities do we anticipate that we're going to have? How much is this going to cost our war chest? How much is this going to cost us in terms of medical issues for the people who will be maimed and suffer from PTSD for the next 60 years, let's say, because if they're 20 now and they live to 80, some of these kids. So what is this? These kids were like in kindergarten right now when 9/11 happened, and 16, 21, yeah. So we'll be sending people over there who were basically basically 2 or 3 years old when we first went into 9/11, or when 9/11 first happened. Is that the legacy we want to have on all of this? How much can our partners really help out? These are really tough questions, and these are all the things that need to be looked at very, very intensely. And Congress, if they get the short and curlies enough, they're going to have to vote on all this. They're going to have to, and basically, as far as I could see, they're going to have to give Obama carte blanche to do basically whatever he wants. And I just hope that once there might be some limitations to it, but I think there's going to be a carte blanche type of thing. And just remember, that's going to put a lot of pressure over there for a lot of things. And Putin's going to want to do whatever he's going to do because we're distracted a little bit. So there's a lot going on, and I hope that we can do this wisely. And if we need to do it urgently, that we do it wisely and urgently, very prudently, and hope for a very nominal loss of life.